Cross the rainbow bridge of Asgard, where the booming heavens roar. You'll behold in breathless wonder the god of thunder, mighty Thor.
I think we're on. Hey guys. I gotta sit down and we're back. We're gonna hit this. It's a rainy day here. It's really dark in this room. All the windows are just like, I have the shades open and it's just dark as hell. Vancouver's rainy, but that's pretty normal. It's a pretty moist city, as they say. Moist? What the hell's wrong with me? Anyway, I got some books, boys and girls. These are just a few mail call books that have kind of been popping up. Just picking up odds and ends, books I believe in. And just books I like. But I try, like I talk about all the time, I try and buy multiples of things over time, like hopefully before they really hit in a big way, because you can't really afford them when they get big. And I don't really go after super high grade when it comes to older books. I try and stay in the 7.0 to 9.0 range, which is, I guess, pretty high grade for certain people. But when you're going for books that haven't popped yet, it's a good range because you get a nice book, but at the same time, you're just not paying ridiculous prices. And if the book pops, that's a very affordable place for other people to buy them from you later. But it also allows you to have a really nice book in your collection if you've bought a few. And we'll just start with the first book. I bought this book from Ted at Superworld Comics. By the way, I love Superworld Comics. They've been very good to me over the years. I buy, not a ton from them, but I buy enough, you know, like about every 3 or 4 months I'll get an order through Ted. He's like, the books are always there, super quick. The shipping's cheap because to Canada it can be really expensive, as I am in Vancouver. And he's just like a sweetheart of a guy. Like, he's just funny, really nice. You never have any drama with him. And I couldn't recommend them enough. And their grading is pretty reasonable. You know, it's right where it's supposed to be. You know, like, and sometimes you get a good deal, and sometimes if you have an issue, he'll fix it immediately. And sometimes you can't get that from a lot of dealers. Some dealers like to fight you, as, you know, they just don't care. They think you're the idiot. Ted does not act like that. Ted's a lovely man. So, saying that, let's get back to the books. I'm just wandering off on a tangent here. The book I'm going to talk about first is a bit of a spec book. I think it's been mentioned in other spec worlds, like Lords of the Longbox has spoken of this book. And it's a villain book, and it's a pretty cool villain book, and it does have some value, but it's not big. You know, it's not like when you think of the X-Men, you don't think of this villain very often, but you know who he is. He's Sauron. And issue 60 of the X-Men. It's a cool cover. I mean, look at that cover. I think Neil Adams did that cover. Yeah, Neil Adams did that cover. Well, there you go. There's another hot spot on it. But, you know, it's a gorgeous cover. It's Sauron. He's a character that is being hinted upon entering the MCU after they're introduced in a long-term kind of thing. And regardless if that's true or not, I hope it is, because, you know, if they bring Khazar in there and Shanna the She-Devil, which, you know, are both books that I am a big fan of as well. I love all that world. If that's a world that actually gets introduced one day, I would be very excited. It would feel like being, you know, 11 years old and reading comics again. And that's the kind of feeling we're all chasing. It's like a junkie chasing the first hit, you know, and that would be something really special. But even if it isn't, right now, guys, XMen Keys of any sort, like from first appearance of Sauron to Kitty Pryde entering X-Men in issue 178, or is it 178? No, not Kitty Pryde. I don't remember. There's so many keys. I mean, first Lockheed, all these keys, they're starting to edge up, especially in the higher grades. They're starting to edge up, and they're starting to be needed in collections. And I'm seeing it on eBay, like, you know, first appearance of Mr. Sinister, which I have a copy of, obviously behind my shoulder here, but is a book that was, no one really gave a shit about it. But now it's, you know, a $200 book in 9.8. Should it be? I don't know. People want it, so that's what it's worth. Any key is a worthwhile venture at this stage. They're still reasonable. And I even say that for Giant Size X-Men #1. I think it's a reasonably priced key, even though it's stratospherically expensive, but it has huge potential. The minute these guys enter onto this big screen, it's gonna explode. So I'm a huge believer in X-Men books. Anyway, that's X-Men 160. Get it. It's great for Sauron. Love it. Okay, here's another book that is, I picked this up. I got this very cheap because it had a rip in the cover. Very low grade. It's like a 2.0. And it's Fantastic Four 19. And it's Rama Tut, who, if you go hunting into back issues, turns out it was actually Kang before he became Kang. And there's conversation of Kang being a big part of the MCU. Again, if that comes to pass or not, I could see it coming to pass in the next 20 years. But I mean, this book is a great, it's a minor Fantastic Four key. It's in the lower grades, quite reasonably priced. If you go hunting, you can find it, but there's been some heat on it because people are realizing that that's actually Kang, and or at least that's what I'm told. I probably need to research it a bit more. I haven't even read it, which is kind of ridiculous for me to do a video without reading it, but it's a great book, man. I mean, I didn't collect Fantastic Four much till recently, like in the last 2 years, and I don't know, I've just fallen in love with them. Like, I love a Fantastic Four cover. I just, you know, Kirby is the king, and there's just no way around it. I'd recommend picking that book up if you can get it cheap. I wouldn't pay big dollars for it. So that's how I feel about this. My next book here is a book that in the late 60s, Marvel released a bunch of first issues of books. Iron Man, Submariner, Captain Marvel. They did, and they were kind of bringing these guys to their own series. And oddly enough, Hulk got one too. But it was Hulk 102, which I think has actually hurt it by being called 102. And basically they were just a continuation of Tales to Astonish, because Hulk went through 1 through 6, and then it became not Tales to Tales of Suspense, I think. Is that what it was? It's one of those two. Sorry, my research is shit. I should know this off by heart. But anyway, I think this book has taken a bit of a hit. Like, if you look at Iron Man #1, that's a book to own. And Submariner #1 or Silver Surfer #1, they all came out in the same year. They were all released, you know, almost in the same kind of format, and they're all the first issues of their ongoing series. Their next first issues after their first appearances and stuff. So they're kind of a big deal. And you know, when I was a kid, I mean, look at that cover. It's one of the greatest transformation covers ever. It's just a beautiful book, and it just hasn't had the energy behind it. I think because it just doesn't say #1, but it is a #1, and it is a big deal book, and it was a big deal book. I don't think it's like gonna explode anytime soon. But if you're a collector and you want to have a cool collection and you love Marvel keys, I think this is a forgotten one, and I think it's one that is deservedly needs a place in your collection. If you like Silver Age books, and it's pretty reasonably priced. I mean, there's no reason not to own it. So that's how I feel, especially if you're collecting like Subby and #1, like that series of books in the 60s, like the late 60s, when those all came out. This will just complement it so well. So I got one, and you know, I got it for way less than it probably should have gone for. I was like pretty shocked, and you know, it's about a 9.0, I'd say. With a press, it might go up higher. It's a really nice book. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, this used to be so expensive when I was a kid. I couldn't afford it, so I'm quite happy to own that. Another book, I've just been kind of picking these ones up. I probably have about 10, just because they're so cheap if you go looking. But they go for a lot of money if they're graded and in high grade, because there's not many of them. And it's got a dark cover and stuff, but it's Daredevil #150, First Paladin. This is a weird book, simply because it's been forgotten. And it still is kind of forgotten unless you believe that he may show up in the MCU, which there's a lot of rumors that may be the case. And, but man, is this a tough book to find in high grade. Like, it's not like there's a million out there, and there really should be. Like, if you're looking for 151, I guarantee you can find stacks of them. if you just want to look at. But I have a difficult time finding these, and so whenever I do see one that's over 9.0, and it's cheap, like it has, like I'm talking $10 and under, I buy it. I just buy it without even a thought, and I just stack it. That's how I collect. If you know, some of those work and some of them don't. I believe that this one is going to pop. I do. I believe in this book, and I think it's going somewhere. I hope that you guys can pick a few up for yourself and, you know, invest $30 and get 3 of them. And it's just $30. And let it sit for a couple of years and see what happens. I have a sneaking suspicion you're going to be very happy with what you get out of it. Okay, so I've got a few more here. This was a big deal book when I was a kid. Longshot #1, Art Adams. Art Adams was the king. I was introduced to Art Adams in 3-dimensional Alien Tales, or Alien Worlds, by Pacific Comics, which is actually one of my favorite comics that was ever made. I think it was his first artwork, and the guy was a genius then, but almost a year later, he was working for Marvel, and he had his own series. Longshot created the character. It's, as a kid, this was the book to own, as you know, when I was really young, and I just adored it. And you know, over the years, I never owned ever a Longshot #1. Hey guys, sorry, I was cut off I'm using an iPhone right at the moment, and I guess my storage was full. Who knew? And I had to get rid of some stuff, so I did, and back. But anyway, Longshot, big deal book. Was a big deal. It was one of those, like, you know, when you're a young man, like a young kid, 11, 12 years old, it was one of those books that you could maybe get and afford. And it was one you really cherished because it was like a real key issue to you. And the art was just so damn good. You know, you just can't beat Art Adams of that era. He was like the king in my mind. Maybe my favorite. But anyway, I picked this up for like $6 or $7. Threw it in Mylar. Looks good. It's not, I don't know, it's not a 9.8, but it's definitely a 9.4 and a 9.6. It's really nice. It's got one ding on it that just isn't going to make it a 9.8. But that's fine. Whenever I see them, I just grab one, and it seems to have been working, so I recommend it. Again, back to what I always talk about, these XMen keys, they're slowly but surely becoming their own beasts, and this is an XMen key. He's a mutant. He has a chance, man. Like, there's a chance. So they're rising regardless. People are just specking on them regardless, and they're cheap still. So they're gonna keep specking. And once those mutants step on big screen, I think everyone's gonna go after everything. And even if this thing goes up by $30, you've done well. And it's such a cool book. I mean, Art Adams, you can't beat it. Anyway, the next book is a book I really like. And I think it's a pretty reasonably priced book. It's Strange Tales, $179. It's the first appearance of Pip the Troll, who, if we're diving into Warlock stuff, which, as you know, in the past, I'm a huge fan of. I love Warlock. Huge fan. And he is coming to the MCU. All signs are pointing for that to happen. So there's a few little keys that are connected to him, and you know, Magus, which is the issue before this, 178, which I've talked about. I have a few of those. Pip the Troll's another one, and he's a cool character. I would recommend researching him. You can get raw copies of this for very little. I think I got this, I don't even know what I paid, but I know it was so little that I couldn't say no, because no one cares about Pip the Troll at all. But in the world of Warlock and stuff, he's somebody. What if he became a Drax, like in Guardians of the Galaxy? What if he becomes a sidekick of some sort? You know, he could be anything, a Rocket the Raccoon. We don't know, because everyone would have laughed you out of the room if you would have said that stuff 10 years ago about Guardians of the Galaxy, or any number of characters. And, you know, I think there's a lot of potential in this guy, Pip the Troll, and I think you should check him out. So that's a book I like. Here's a book that I pick up in low grades whenever I see it really cheap, because they can be had in VG. This one's trashed, by the way, and it's funny. It's XMen 10. Look at, there's ink on it. It's like, you know, it's been loved. That's a good way of saying it's been trashed. But I got this for like $10, and I think it was around there. It was pretty cheap. But anyway, it's funny when you get it's sent to you, and the comic store still has a tag on it for $90, and I don't know anyone would have paid $90 for this thing. But Khazar is a character that I believe in, like much like Sauron in my last video. I have a bunch of Sauron. I believe in that Shanna the She-Devil world. It's something that could be introduced, and I really like these characters. Regardless, they're XMen Keys, like I keep talking about, is a thing, man. XMen Keys, and these are, you can still get these babies for nothing, in lower grades, and 10, 20 years from now, these won't be cheap. They're gonna be like Batman keys in the 40s. They're even common issues are expensive as hell. I don't see why these couldn't fall into that same thing. So if I see one for $25 or $18, like in a back issue bin, it's kind of banged up, I grab these things, and you grade them, and all of a sudden they go for a lot more than you paid for. I don't flip too much that way, but I've seen it work, and I've done it. And you can turn a $25 bargain bin book into a $125 book that you could sell on eBay, and that's a lot of profit that can go towards another book that you really want in your collection. So I like to grab books like that. So, but moving on to the last book of this video. This is a book I've never owned ever, and I don't know why. It's a cool as hell book. Everyone seems to own it but me. But I have this one and 2 more CGC ones coming now because it's the first Beta Ray Bill. I remember when this book hit, and it went up to like $12, and I didn't have $12 to buy it. I just couldn't own it, and I seemed to miss out. And so I started buying it after this. Like 338 was the book I got first for Thor. But man, that is a great Simonson cover. And the character's cool. Beta Ray Bill's a very cool character, and he's basically a character that he's all the sums of the greatest fighters that ever existed in the universe, all in one. They killed each other until they found the best, and he was it. And he's funny as hell too. And I Thor 4 is coming. I don't know if they've said he's going to be in it, but all signs seem to be pointing towards it. And I can't wait to see what they do with him. He's gonna be a CG character, I imagine, but Marvel's really good at playing with, a comedy, and this I really think this could be a really great comedic character, but also a kick-ass one at the same time. I think this one has legs, and it's a newsstand copy, which was nice to get. I don't really go after newsstands, or it's not really something I focus on, or Canadian variants usually. Unless, I kind of luck out. It's not something I personally really go after too much. But that's it, folks. That's the mail call for this time. I have a bunch more coming over the next couple weeks. And I'm going to start doing more videos. Like I said in the last video, my mom's very sick right now. And so I've had to kind of pull back a bit. And honestly, my brain just hasn't been there. But it's been fun to do this, and I love it, and it's great to share. And I haven't even been on YouTube. I haven't even answered anyone's questions or anything, and I'm gonna get back into it, guys, okay? And I promise you that. And I have some really cool books coming, and I can't wait to show all of you what they're coming. And I have a couple CGC boxes coming over the next month, some Silver Age, like really good back issue, like keys. That I'm quite excited to get back. I don't know what the grades are. I could be crying when they come back for all I know, but at this stage, I'm excited regardless of just getting, graded keys. They're fun, man. They're great to share. And I have some nice moderns coming. Like, as you know, I like to kind of buy in the bronze, copper world. I don't usually go for a lot of, modern stuff. Saying that though, this is a book I've been picking up though, because they're like $2. I'll have a video about why. I believe in it's a new Avengers 40, but that's for another time now. So I buy that kind of era. So I rarely buy these new books. Every so often I'll grab one, but it's pretty rare. But anyway, that's it for now. Thank you for sticking around, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Very soon, in fact. I'll be up a lot more now. And I'm just getting kind of used to the new world that I'm in right now. So have a great day, and I'll see you soon. Bye.
Stairways are for Peter Parker. Spider-Man can take a shortcut.